Hi, everyone. I'm Heather, and thank you for joining us for another Homeschool Live brought to you by the Old Schoolhouse. Today, we'll be hearing from Terry Wilfong about the NAC, the National Academic Homeschool Competition. We are so excited to introduce this to the homeschooling community. Please share this video with your friends, post it everywhere you can. We want to get the word out about the first ever National Homeschool Competition. Terry is the president of the College Options Foundation. He retired from the U.S. Army and has dedicated his life to improving the lives of American youth and their communities. As a previous director of admissions for 3 different universities, he is one of the nation's top experts on admissions and finance in college. And through different roles, he's worked with thousands of colleges and universities across the United States. He is absolutely qualified, and I am so excited to hear from him today. Hi, Terry. Thank you for joining me today.
Geez, I hope I can live up to that. That's great stuff. And I'm excited to be with you also. Thanks for having me.
So, the College Options Foundation is a new partner here with the Old Schoolhouse, and you are helping us put on the National Academic Homeschool Competition. But before we talk about that, can you tell us a little bit about the background of the College Options Foundation?
Sure. And I think best to understand the foundation's background, it's best to know a little bit of my background. As you already mentioned, I'm a retired military officer. And what that means after 24 years is that I've been working with young people in America for 24 years on active duty and with the foundation for the last 22 years. So I've had an opportunity to pay back. I spent the majority of my adult life providing service to the country and providing service to young folks. And when I went into, after retirement, when I went into the college admissions field, I was a director of admissions or associate director of admissions at a couple of universities. And what I found was it wasn't positive enough. It wasn't powerful enough. I was not giving back, and I needed to give back. So about 22 years ago, I left the admissions field and started the foundation, whose primary goal was to assist military dependent teens, high school students, with the college bound process. That's expanded to now where we are working with anywhere between 84,000 to 124,000 high school kids a year around the college bound process. That's getting into, paying for, and succeeding in college. And we primarily do that through the development of software programs that we update continually to help families understand that process, how to get into, pay for, and succeed in college. That's our goal.
That is incredible. I mean, I would love, you have been helping high schoolers for years, and now you are beginning to help the homeschooling community. And I know specifically for schoolhouseteachers.com members, you are providing an opportunity for them. I would love to know if you could share with us how College Options Foundation is helping homeschooling families.
So, how to help homeschool families? And first, you should note that I've worked with homeschool families for the last 25 years in the admissions process. It wasn't my full-time job, but certainly it was that market that we were working with. I'll tell you that in the homeschool market, what some people I think miss is that 95, 96, 97% of all the things you have to do for the college bound process are exactly the same thing that a homeschool student would have to do, whether they're a private school, a public school, or a homeschool student. I think the thing that most people might miss today is 20 years ago, it might have been an issue for an admissions officer to deal with a homeschool student, transcript issues, coursework issues, SAT or standardized test, ACT programs, that maybe 20, 25 years ago, that was an issue. Today, it's more commonly the norm. Homeschools, like everyone knows, has exploded. And so every admissions office in America has to learn to work and modify around whether it's a private school, a public school, or a homeschool student. They're nearly the norm at this particular point. So I think as far as that goes, there's not a whole lot of difference on what they have to do. And what a student has to do and a family has to do is understand that it's a process. And that's what most people miss, and especially in the homeschool environment. Many of the homeschool moms or dads are college graduates, so they're not first generation college bound students, but that also leaves open the door that many are not. So there's always that issue of what steps need to be taken. And that's where we come in. This isn't what families do. This is whether it's a homeschool, public school, private school. Families don't deal day in and day out with the college process. I do.
Right.
It's what I do every day, 25 years.
So in a public school, a parent or a student would be able to go to a guidance counselor. Homeschoolers don't have that option. So we could come as a homeschooling family, we could go to College Options Foundation. You have something called Total College Success. Could you maybe share your screen and show us a little bit about what that is and how that can help homeschoolers?
I'd love to. So if you take a look at what's on the screen now, and don't worry about the right side, that's for the standard population. We've been selling software to the not only homeschool, but college bound families for 25 years now. It's what we do. It's how we raise funds to assist other programs and assist other students. Our Total College Success program, we've been building on for 24, 25 years now. And we've got great recommendations, not only from the Old Schoolhouse magazine, but we've partnered with Jeopardy, with the Small Business Administration, with the College Bowl, Richard Reed, and I think that your audience can see some of those testimonials. We know what we're doing. After 25 years of doing it, we're in good shape on this. Add to that I've worked as a director of admissions or an associate director of admissions for a 6-year period. I know this business, and what we do is we break down the process. So we outline A to Z the college bound process. And again, I'll tell you that whether you're a homeschool student or a public or private school student, 95% of every student has to do exactly the same things to get lined up for college success. Our whole goal is to help families with understanding the college bound process, getting into, paying for, and succeeding in college. And that's any college. That could be a technical school, it could be an intern program, it could be an apprenticeship program, it could be a 2-year college, a 4-year college, master's degrees, doctorate degrees. It's all part of the process. So we put together simple stuff, the student planning guide. That's just a month-by-month guide that helps parents through the process, that lets them understand what needs to be done. And then there are some very unique SAT and ACT programs that we put together. I won't go into detail on them now, but I think those are our strongest programs because it's peer-to-peer instruction. It's high school students telling other high school students, age students, how to succeed in an SAT or an ACT. The tips, the ideas, the process, and then the very specific, the most important part is the analytics of it. And so if it's understanding verb tense, or it's understanding specific algebra questions, geometry questions, or specific biology or graph type questions on our own science, it's a student telling other students how to succeed in that area. We also do put academic doctorate degree holding professors on video that can teach students through the basic process. But the biggest piece that we have is students quickly, 1 minute or less, telling them how to solve those roughly 130 categories of an SAT or an ACT. Choosing the right college basically goes through an analytical process of why you would select a particular school. Most students, homeschool or not, pick colleges over what their friends might be looking at, where their parents went to school. Those are not commonly good ways to pick a school. And you want to look at what disciplines are provided, what academic degrees are offered, what's the community atmosphere, what does it look like in social norms, where is it physically located, what's the cost. And so we go through choosing the colleges and allowing students and parents to understand that process. The admissions process, there's just all kinds of terminology, early registration, midterm registration, wait lists. What is that terminology? And what is the process for identifying and applying to those schools that we selected earlier? Most schools will have an interview area, or at very least a written question or area. Many families or students will have to submit some type of a admissions essay. We go through that essay process as a basic guide. One of the things that everyone needs to understand is, if the question from the college is, Okay, in today's turbulent world, what is it that you would do to solve the energy crisis? Even if the student answered and came up with a right answer for solving the energy crisis, something that never thought of, but it does it, it works. No one in the admissions office would see that. All we're going to see is the punctuation was poorly outlined, there were spelling errors,
Mm,
it didn't flow well. So where's the disconnect here? I have a homeschool student with a 4.0 GPA who scored 1230, 1250, 1300 on an SAT, but they can't link two logical sentences and the punctuation and spelling is way off. That's why we're asking for the essays, not because we want to see
right.
if you can save the world. We want to see if what we're seeing in the background of GPAs, SATs, ACTs, class rankings equal what we're receiving. The best way to do that is through an essay. And that's just one example. You're basically looking at 40 hours of content. College
Wow.
financing, A to Z, creative options, that means part-time work, completing coursework
Mm,
early, to how financial aid works, how scholarships work, those kind of pieces. I said earlier that students and parents understand a little bit about the process. They know there's something called financial aid, and that they think that there's something called a need-based criteria model that allows a student to receive more or less financial aid. That basic understanding would hurt you worse than it would help you. Understanding the general area is important. Same comment for scholarships, military options, creative options. Those are all financing considerations. There's about 12 hours of content, and don't let that scare you away. Two things to consider. There's many portions of this 12 hours that you'll just simply skip. If you have no interest in the military, don't turn it on. And it's going to be military A to Z, joining a guard or reserve unit, going to ROTC, looking at one of the academies. And if that's not your interest, skip that particular area.
yeah.
If you don't feel like you want to work the financial aid process, I'll tell you, you're making a big mistake because you don't know that financial aid covers work study, covers subsidized and unsubsidized
Right.
loans that you don't start paying back until you finish college. So there's a lot to be considered there. And then creative options sections, okay, I'll give it 50-50. 50% of the audience might know 50% of what I think a creative option is. But I've been doing this for almost 25, 30 years now. I've seen some very creative options on how to save money. Simple stuff like understanding dorm cost and meal plans. And initially,
Mm,
the college is going to press 3 meals a day. You
yeah.
parents that are listening to me understand that your kids are going to skip breakfast because they won't wake up early enough. And most of them will do a light lunch and then maybe they'll consider dinner. But you're paying for 3 meals a day if that's the plan you select. And so that's a simple one. But it's those understanding those multitude of variables that pay for the overall college process that you need to understand. College success is simple. Um, that's just smart things. It's understanding the general college process. A simple example would be students need to understand that if you're taking 12 credit hours, that would basically be 4 courses, 3 hours, 3 credit hours each. That'd be a full time load. Many kids will take 15, 16, 18 hours. I'm fine with that as long as they understand the core concept. When a college puts down a single credit hour, that they're thinking that would be 10 a.m. to 10:50 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That would be um, the 3 hours that you're taking. They assign 3 hours of homework against that. So for every 3 credit
Right.
hour course you take, you need 9 hours of study. It's a part-time job. That's one thing I'd like them to consider. There's about 15 things that I want them to think through in the college process. The biggest difference between college and homeschool or high school, um, a little stronger in homeschool, but the professors don't care if you wake up and go to class. I mean, they don't care. They're getting paid regardless. There's a significant attrition rate of students that aren't mentally, physically prepared to do that kind of workload. And so I just want the students to understand it. And then Zero Hour Threats, a game that Disney MGM Studios helped us put together, which is a fast paced game around the college bound process. And so that's a 5 minute overview of a 40-hour program that's A to Z college. um,
Wow.
tremendous testimonials.
And Terry, you have offered this to our schoolhouseteachers.com members completely free of charge. And if you're watching and you are a schoolhouseteachers.com member, you can go to your member dashboard and you can access a code to receive this completely for free. And as you're talking, I mean, this would be a course for your high schooler and you can customize it yourself. But it sounds like not only is it for the parent, but it seems like it puts the college process into the child's hands where they can look, they can watch the different videos, they can figure out, okay, this is what I want to do, or these are the skills I want to focus in on. And I love that. I love that this really is both for the student and the parent.
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I've considered many times changing the name from Total College Success to Total College Success for Parents, because the kids are going to be very interested. Some of the students will have a wherewithal and understanding that college is expensive. But their primary concern is, what am I going to study? What's the social life? What's the community like? Where is it physically located? That's going to be their concern. The parents are going to have one
Right.
concern: how much does it cost? And of course, there'll be some other things in there, but primarily it's going to be a cost thing. And so we focus heavily on the cost piece of it. The other thing that you said that's so, so important is that it takes that burden. I don't know that many of the people watching right now that have an 11th grader or a 12th grader or is getting close to that college bound program for a homeschooler, sometimes 11th to 12th grade is not the right terminology. It's age or high school completion or transferring out of the dual enrollment program into a brick and mortar school.
Right.
I get that. But as much as the funding is stressful, it's also the overall process. And what we've tried to do with the software is eliminate all those questions, give you a checklist where you just kind of knock it out and get those things done. And by knocking out the process and the checklist, I'll save you not only stress, fatigue over the overall process, I'll save you tens of thousands of dollars in college cost. And I've been doing this for 20, 25 years. I don't say that lightly.
I feel like that's a good segue into the next question. Kind of goes along with that. I was wondering if you could describe what you see as one of the biggest challenges with college prep that students face today.
I've touched on it. I'll drive it home. There are literally 150, 200 things that you don't know about the college process. And you have a general understanding of it. I don't want you to become or get a master's in the college process, but I want you to have a checklist. I want you to know what's available. I want you to know what is out there that you can leverage to, one, reduce the overall cost, reduce the stress, and most importantly, assist students in succeeding in the college process. And that's what is the biggest deterrent. It's what you don't know. Everyone knows that there's a little bit of something to do with financial aid and it helps with some grant money. I want you to know the details of that. I want you to know that XYZ college will pay 80% in need-based and 20% in loans or work-study program or self-help. Need-based is free money that a parent or student receives while they're going to school. Self-help is money that they either work for, work study, or loans that they take. And then understanding the loan interest and payback programs and what is offered by their state or their community in loan payback programs. So many states will waive student loans if a student graduates from a particular university with a teaching degree and moves into either faith-based, public, or private teaching. They don't care. Arizona is a good example of that. And so that's what I want them to understand is the things that they don't know. Stop guessing at it. This is what we do. We outline it.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's really incredible. And I want to just go back. One thing you mentioned was, a lot of students don't understand the credit hours and how many hours of study that entails throughout the whole week. And you keep mentioning work study. So that is like the school is allowing you to work in their library or work in their cafeteria to help pay off the loans. So that would be something a student would have to think about, the time that they would have to put into that. But it's an awesome option. So I love that you have all these ideas that that or knowledge because you've experienced this that a lot of families just have no idea about. So there's a lot of value here for sure.
Sure, let's drive home that work study. Work study is an option for a student, and you would very seldom, if ever, find someone working study in a cafeteria. What you'll typically find is that a department head of the mathematics department needs
Mm.
filing, answering phones, basic notes put out. So the reason they call it work study is because it does two things for you. If you're not answering the phone or filing, you're sitting there studying. You're being paid to study while you're in that office. The other thing it does for you, and we talk through in the financial aid section, how to line up the work study positions, it allows you to become part of the university. You're not really an employee, but you're close. You're in that office. You're with the counselors, the secretaries, the administrators, the department heads, the professors. You're in that office. So you're getting to know those folks. So you're kind of part of the process. I'll tell you, work study students' chances of succeeding in college are significantly greater than a
Wow.
standard student, because if they start to struggle, they've been working for 4 weeks for this basic professor. They can go to the professor during a break time and say, "Sir, I'm really struggling in this class." And if the professor doesn't know the answer, he knows the professor that does. And
Right.
he'll call him up and say, "Johnny's been working hard for us. Susie's been doing great work in this office, but she's struggling in class. Can you find some time?" They're part of the system. And so, two takeaways: work study is a great job. It is a fraction of what I want you to know in the overall process. It's just one of 100 steps.
Wow, that's incredible. Um, before we get into what I'm really excited to talk about, which is the knack, which I see the poster behind you, and I'm so excited to dive into that. Before we get into that, could you give, if you could give parents one piece of advice for their students, what would that be?
One piece of advice as it relates to the college bound process, or one
College
piece of
prep,
advice
yes.
because I didn't mention I'm a retired chief of police for the military district of Washington, D.C. So I know those two fields pretty well. So I'll do the college prep piece. The one piece of advice I would have is understand that having a checklist, outlining the step-by-step process, getting it in a manageable area, as opposed to, oh gosh, when is this due? When is that due? Outlining and getting organized early for a student is the most important piece. Getting some system together that we provide, and if you're part of the academic competition, you get that information. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but I can't emphasize enough how many little steps there are that make life so much easier. And they're 10-minute steps. They're really nothing. Now, filling out the financial aid forms, that might take a half hour. One time you have to do it, and then for the next 4 years, you only have to update it. It takes 10 minutes. I often hear that the most expensive thing a family or a person may take on in their life is the cost of their home. I'll tell you that the most expensive thing that you're more likely to run into is the cost of your advanced education. Two things: investing in yourself will be the best investment you've ever made, and next, understanding how to reduce those overall costs it, is the way to go. Yeah, of course, you can buy $1 million house and that will outpace it, but you can easily spend $500,000 on educating yourself over the course of a lifetime, easily. And I want to show you how to reduce that.
A lot of parents watching, they are so excited for their teens that are ready to enter this college bound process, but they're nervous about the testing. Is my child going to be prepared? What's going to be on the test? Can you tell us about the National Academic Homeschool Competition? How is it going to prepare students for these tests, for college in general? What is it going to look like?
Sure, exactly. So you're looking at the website where students and parents can now pre-register for the National Academic Homeschool Competition. Let's quantify this a little bit. Um, College Options Foundation has been running high school aged academic competitions and bowls for almost 18 years now. We've partnered with Jeopardy. We've partnered with the Old Schoolhouse magazine recently. We have literally hundreds of testimonials and programs. What we build the program around is the ability to raise the tide across all of the homeschool arena and community. What I mean by that is we've devised a competition which is fun, exciting, it's competitive, kids enjoy it, and all of the questions center around SAT, ACT, or what we refer to as college knowledge. So it does two things. It provides students the opportunity for more time on task as it relates to preparing for standardized testing. It also supports the homeschool curriculum. So if your students are engaged in advanced math or mathematics programs, high school level math, English, science, that's where we're going to spend our time. That's where all the questions are going to come from. So students will sign up because it's a competitive national event. Students will sign up because there are prizes and awards and the ability to compete. It's fun. They'll sign up for the event. In the background, they'll be studying SAT, ACT, core common curriculum for homeschool environments around those curriculum areas. We'll raise SAT and ACT scores. We'll raise the college knowledge process. We'll ask questions about financial aid, about how to succeed in college, about living with your roommate at college. What are the smart things to do? All of that is provided in the study material I showed you earlier. Every question will come off of our SAT, ACT, or the college process. So kids will study materials that we provide that give them the ability to succeed in our online testing programs. The end result is I'll better prepare homeschool students for standardized testing in the college process. It's been what we've been doing for 25 years. We've got great analytics and proof to show that we can raise that tide across the students participating.
So this is not just a one-day event. First of all, this is virtual. This happens online, and it begins November 1st. And then can you tell us what happens after November 1st?
All right, so it actually starts in October with the practice test. And if I'm on screen now,
Okay. Yes.
the practice tests do two things. It gives our students an opportunity to get familiar with our testing process, what the online games look like. There'll be some simple questions. It won't be a lot. It won't be heavy duty, but it'll give them an opportunity to understand the timing, the pace, and the types of questions. It also eliminates what often happens is there's a block because of where you're signing into the game. You might not be using the right filters or backgrounds. So the practice tests are to get students online, familiar, and technically capable to take the test.
Right.
In November is when we start with the level 1 testing. That's an opportunity for students in various age groups. I think right now the age groups have been determined to be 12 to 14, 15 to 16, and 17 to 18 category areas that students can participate. And that's the groups that they'll be put into. They'll take those tests, and the test will be situated around those age group areas. In the homeschool community, that's a little bit different. There'll be harder questions, quite bluntly, because you can have in a homeschool environment a student that's 13 or 14-year-olds that's taking advanced trigonometry or algebra. And so they'll be getting those kinds of questions, but they'll be tested against that age group. And they'll rise through level 1. We'll release the test results, and we'll take forward about 50% of those students in the testing process to compete February in the level 2 event. So the top 50% of those students that advanced in level 1 will move to level 2. What will happen, and it always happens, is those kids will get even more excited at that point around the prizes, awards, and just the competition. They want to win. It's no different than playing at home a Jeopardy game. They want to succeed, which I completely understand. So in level 2, that group will be tested again. It's about an hour-long test. It's pretty intensive. There'll be plenty of study materials out there. There'll be plenty of notes and emails and text to the families and the students, letting them know what they should be studying. And of that group, 20% will move forward to the championship rounds that'll happen in April. And those people will compete, and the top bracketed winners for each age category will be selected, and prizes and awards will be selected for the top 4 place students, and then the top 20 place students after that, 5 through 20, and the award levels will vary around that area. So it'll be something that they can use not only as an educational training tool, but also as a bullet comment on a resume, or an application to a university that they competed in the National Academic Competition and moved through that. And certificates will also be, professional certificates will be provided.
And this website is up and running, nacregistration.com, NACH registration.com. And registration opens August 1st. But if our viewers go now, they can pre-register. Is that correct? And they will be kept up to date with everything that's going on with this process.
That's correct. Absolutely correct. And again, what I want to emphasize is that this program's overall intent is to prepare your students for the college process. That's the basic understanding of college knowledge, and also drive home what they're going to see, the exact formatted questions. They won't be the exact questions, but you don't change the way you do math. You don't change basic sentence structure. And what they see on the test is what they'll see on an SAT or an ACT. What they'll study through the materials that are provided through the registration process that I showed you earlier is where I'll take the questions. So the kids will want to compete. The kids will want to understand how to win, and I'm game for that. So they'll be studying college knowledge. They'll be studying SAT and ACT, and parents will see improved SAT and ACTs and lessen the burden of understanding the steps it takes to get into the colleges.
Well, this is absolutely exciting. I am so thrilled that you have partnered with the Old Schoolhouse to help bring this about. And I am so excited for everyone watching. If you are not a member to schoolhouseteachers.com, head over right now. You can use coupon code BOGO22 and you can receive a year completely free. And you can pay only $199 for 2 years. So get that coupon code in now, and then you will have access to total college success. But what we didn't mention, Terry, is that if you are a schoolhouseteachers.com member, you only pay half price. Isn't that correct?
$55.
So
that's correct.
Yeah, so only $55 if you are a schoolhouseteachers.com member.
So you basically receive all of our content, the 40 hours of content, for free. That's what they're getting, and they're only paying to compete in the actual event itself, the online event.
Perfect. Well, that is so exciting, and we appreciate you. We appreciate you offering this to our members. Again, head over to nacregistration.com, and if you're not a member of schoolhouseteachers.com, head over there as well. And we will see you next time on another Homeschool Live. Bye.
Thank you for having me.